Fans, I come to you on a hot, hot day. So if you see sweat trickling down my neck at all during this story, what can you do? It's just that kind of day. Hello guys, welcome, or if you've already seen my channel, well, welcome back. I am the Philadelphia Whovian, and today we're going to talk about something that, years ago when it first happened, I just didn't, it was controversial amongst a large portion of the fan base, and I didn't understand why. So I feel like I kind of want to talk about it right now. So guys, this is a video about the 11th Doctor's phone call in deep breath to Clara, telling Clara to embrace and accept the new Doctor, the 12th Doctor, even though the Doctor's face has changed, and reminding her that just because his face has changed, that is still the Doctor. He is still the man she knew before, just a different face and a different incarnation, but still the same person, and trying to encourage Clara to accept him and still love him the way she did before. Now, when this happened and I first saw Deep Breath, I thought nothing of it. I was perfectly fine with it, and I was actually happy to see it, because I liked seeing the Doctor have a moment, the 11th Doctor have a moment with Clara, because the 11th Doctor's last moments, before he regenerated, was him remembering and seeing Amy again, and it was less about him with Clara. So having the phone call with Clara, it gave the 11th Doctor a last moment with her, while at the same time connecting him with the 12th Doctor, and saying it's time to move on and accept this new Doctor now. I was perfectly fine with all this. I found it all harmless. Then there was the other side of the fan base that thought this was the worst thing in the history of things. They thought it was very terrible because A, it showed how the Moffat was trying to cater to the younger generation and the kiddies and the fangirls by having an 11th Doctor in the 12th Doctor's first episode. Others thought it was just terrible, awful, evil of the 11th Doctor to be in the first episode of the 12th Doctor, to the point where they regarded it as a crime. Think I'm exaggerating? I'm not. I swear to God, I've talked to people on YouTube about this, because I just did not understand the extreme reaction to this simple phone call that sparked people into thinking, oh my God, 11th Doctor is the worst Doctor, all because of this phone call, or this is the worst thing of all, Doctor Who is ending, all because the 11th Doctor made a phone call to his companion so that she could accept the next Doctor. I didn't. But it was happening, guys. It was a true thing. And my reply back to that is, what was the big deal? What was so extremely awful about this that people lost, for lack of better terminology, their freaking minds? Because when I would talk to people about this on YouTube, they really acted like this was a major sin. Like, how dare this have possibly happened? And they despised the 11th Doctor for it. And I'm like, my reply back was, this is a phone call. The Doctor, the past incarnation, making a phone call to his companion to help her accept the next incarnation. And the two main criticisms I got was, one, and I shit you not, this was a criticism. One, it had never happened before where a previous Doctor appeared in the first season of a new Doctor. Shit you not. That was an excuse. I got that from a lot of people. And my reply back was always the same. Here it is. I always would say back to them, what are you talking about? That makes no sense, because there definitely was a time where the first season of a new Doctor had a Doctor from the previously make an appearance. That was the 6th Doctor's era, and one of the most iconic stories from his first season, The Two Doctors, where we had Patrick Troughton, the 2nd Doctor, not only make an appearance in that story, but he was all throughout the story. So for you guys to attack the 11th Doctor for appearing in the first episode or the first season of the 12th Doctor's era for something he was only in for about 3 minutes, when we did see a previous Doctor be in a whole two-parter of the first season of a new Doctor, that's like saying one person will be punished for stealing an apple, but the other one, it's okay that he stole the entire cart. And I have no problem with Patrick Troughton being in the 6th Doctor's first season. I was very happy with that. So don't think I'm judging Patrick Troughton. I'm just saying, for you guys to make that argument of the 11th Doctor, it's completely erroneous for him to have made an appearance in the first season of the 12th Doctor, because no Doctor from a previous era had made an appearance in the first season of a new Doctor. That makes no sense because it did happen before. You're being hypocritical if that is your argument. And that was a big argument that I became faced with. And every time I made that argument back, nobody ever responded to me. Then here's a second issue that people had, and they said, again, this did happen, where that it was terrible that the 11th Doctor made a phone call to Clara in Deep Breath because it never happened before. It was something that had never been done before. That's why it's terrible. In a show called Doctor Who, where there are tons of things that never happened before, that happened for the first time, how does that argument work? Where the Doctor does something for the first time, you're saying, oh my God, he's evil for doing it, but you're doing this in a show where there are many first times, where the Doctor did something for the first time many times. That argument of it's awful because no Doctor had done it before doesn't work, because it's a show where many times there are many situations where the Doctor did something he did not do before. That does not work. It doesn't hold up. And I said this back to the person, and they just did not understand what I was referring to. And I'm like, let me get this straight. We have a Doctor who in the first season of the new series and the second season of the series had a fetish for a teenage girl. And the Doctor did many things since then. He even towed a planet with his TARDIS, which still don't get how that happened. And you're telling me that the most extreme thing you've seen the Doctor do in New Who was make a phone call to his companion when the next Doctor arrived? That argument doesn't really work either. And then I spoke, and he said, well, also it makes no sense because whenever a Doctor was regenerating, that previous Doctor never contacted the new companion. It made no sense. And then at this point, I had not seen all the regenerations. But I spoke to someone else on YouTube who did see all the times the Doctor regenerated, and they said it very well. They're like, that makes no sense, because the majority of the time you're seeing that those regenerations happened, the Doctor had no time to make a pre-recorded message. The first Doctor had no time. The second Doctor, he lost his memory, and there was no one to make a message to, because his two companions also lost their memories were stripped from them by the Time Lords. The third Doctor had no time whatsoever. The fourth Doctor had no time. Fifth Doctor had no time. Sixth Doctor had no time. He regenerated while being unconscious. The seventh Doctor, that had no time, and there was no companion with him at the time for him to leave a message to. The eighth Doctor, there was no companion with him for him to leave a message to. The first Doctor, we have any possibility of him leaving a message to his next companion, when his next face appeared, was the ninth Doctor. And I doubt that even if Russell T Davies had thought of that, Christopher Eccleston would have even wanted to come back and film it, because he was just that disinterested in being a part of Doctor Who. But also, with that regeneration as well, I bet you, and this is something I really believe, if the idea, and he pointed this out, but I also had this thought as well, if Russell T Davies, the ninth Doctor, had made a phone call to Rose when he regenerated to his 10th face, everybody would have shit their pants with happiness, saying like, oh, that is so awesome. But because it happened with the 11th Doctor, it was all like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. This is just complete service to the fangirls, and this is therefore absolutely awful. I really feel like it would be that. It was just because it happened with the 11th Doctor's end of his era, people just jumped on it and attacked it, and it's like, you're overreacting. Sorry guys, you're totally overreacting. God, you just are. But also, when it comes to, again, Moffat appealing to the fangirls, because that's another criticism I got, where it was Moffat trying to appeal to the fangirls of the 11th Doctor era to get them to hold on. First, I know men who stopped watching Doctor Who after 11 left. Literally. I've known them. I've met them. So it wasn't just girls who were doing it. But also, when it comes to that, you see, this is where people pick and choose the fan service that they choose to like and not like. Because the same people who were criticizing that moment where Moffat's trying to appeal to the fangirls are the same people who praised Moffat for bringing Rose Tyler back in The Day of the Doctor. You know, you can't pick and choose what fan service you like and you don't like if you're going to be that hypocritical about it. It just doesn't work that way. But even if you guys had a reason to be angry, which if you do, okay, fine, that's you, cool, I won't judge you. But I'm going to say what I always said. It's just a phone call. The Doctor just made a phone call. Is it really the end of the world? Really? Are you sure it's the end of the world? I just don't think so. So even if it's not the best thing in the world, I mean, I'm not like over the moon crazy about it, but I don't hate it either. It's just there. It's okay. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. Not the way we made it. But also, audiences' reaction to that, where I saw people who literally said that 11th Doctor was awful. The 11th Doctor was awful for that phone call. It reminded me of this one person who, he could not get into Doctor Who. And I asked him, I said, oh, you know, you've seen Doctor Who, why can't you get into it? He said, you know, there are just things about the show I'm not crazy about. But he said, ultimately, it's the fan base. He's like, it's weird, but some of the things that you guys react to that you say is awful, I don't see why it's bad, but some of the things that you praise, I don't see why it's good. He's like, for example, I didn't like how the Ninth Doctor treated certain companions. I thought he was a dick, but everybody says he's this nice, cuddly guy. He's like, I don't think he's a terrible person, but I think that some of the things he did were still very dick. And the Time War was used as an excuse to say that he's shell-shocked, so he's an excuse for why he's being a dick, but that's kind of abusive, because it's saying, it's like perpetuating a vicious circle, by perpetuating the idea of, because I am suffering from this pain, it's okay that I do things and I act like this over here, which can, again, lead to an abusive situation and a vicious cycle being repeated. But he said also with the 10th Doctor, he treated Martha like absolute crap. And not only did people blame Martha for it, but they praised the 10th Doctor. But then, when the 11th Doctor, he's like, goes through all these hoops to save Clara and journey to the center of the TARDIS, everybody thinks he's evil. I'm like, where is your morality? He's like, I just can't get into you guys because I don't see the things, like some of the things you guys claim to be awful. He's like, I don't see why it's awful. And things that you say it's good, I don't always see why it's good. It just seems like we have a very mixed concept of morality. And at first, I did not understand him, even though I've been disagreeing with Whovians about certain things for plenty of years. But when I think about people's reaction to the Doctor, the 11th Doctor making a phone call in Deep Breath, I see what he's talking about. It's a phone call. It's just a phone call. Even if it was fan service to fangirls, it's still a phone call. I'm not going to get hung up about it. That's all I'm saying, you know? That's all I'm saying. But if you guys do not like it, I understand that's how you feel. You're right to feel as you feel. But I still feel like I'm right to feel as I feel. It's just a phone call. It's not the end of the world. And if you guys have reasons why you don't like that phone call, I am perfectly fine with hearing you in the comment section and you telling me why you do not like it. But I'm letting you know now, I will always disagree with you. So, I will hear your comment, I will respect your comment, and I'll even respond politely to your comment, but I just will always disagree with your comment for my own reasons. So guys, did you see Deep Breath? Do you know what I'm talking about? If you have, please do not be afraid to comment below and let me know. Guys, thank you so much. Peace out. Bye guys.